Welcome back. Let's continue this discussion further. I'm now being joined on the program by Professor Sadiq Abba, who joins us via Skype from Yola. I also have Femi Lawson, who joins us from another part of Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Professor Abba, let me start with you. What do you make of that statement by the president that he be given the opportunity to choose the candidate of the APC?
First and foremost, if you go into political history, it is not something that is very new. It's not something that is out of place. Presidents all over the world, leaders in general, sought severally to choose their own successors. Mr. President's desire to be allowed to choose his successor is born out of the fact that a genuine leader will always plan for a successor who will continue with his own program. So no president or no leader will ever wish a successor that will take over from him to abandon his project and abandon his program. So, but in Nigerian context, there are more to it. The governors in Nigeria seems to be, as collective, the most powerful group in the federation, politically, democratically, and economically. So for them to have an absolute power to choose their successors as governors, as next governors in their states, it is because of this reason that the president also, and the president allows them or deliberately refuse to interfere in who succeeds who at the state level. So it behoves on the governors also to look the other way around and allow Mr. President to choose his successors. But there are implications.
Do you think this? Is this? Don't you think the president's action is coming very late? Why did the president have to wait until, well, if you like, the eve of the primary before doing so? Why not do it earlier? Because let's face it, most of these aspirants have gone around the country talking to delegates. They've spent money. They've done everything. So why wait until the dying minute before making this request?
I think what the president did was good for democracy, is good for politics, is good for political, institutional memory and institutional development of the party. So what is not a mistake. It was a deliberate policy, it was a deliberate plan. I think, to me as a political scientist, I think it is like a joker that the president intends to play on whosoever he wishes to succeed him. But I also, like I've said earlier, moments ago, that there are some political and democratic implications for making that particular pronouncement 2 days ago. Politically, at least it will create some level of political instability within the system, and democratically, it will create like a friction or a gap within the party and within the body politic across the federation. So, but generally, I think the president has a reason for that, and this reason is very germane. Our only hope and prayers as Nigerians is that when the governors allow him to choose his successor, he's going to look within the party, people who have institutional memory of the party, people who play significant role in from 2014, because it started in November 2014 till date, people who contributed immensely their life, their energies, their resources, their time, etc., to build the APC and brought about the little political stability that we have, or the semblance of democratic stability that we have in Nigeria today. So our prayer is that when he must force the governors. The government has no right to impose anybody on him. But if they allow him the free hand to choose his successor, the president should be very fair, should be very honest, should be very magnanimous, and should be very sincere in choosing his successor from the point of view of APC's institutional history.
Let me come to you, Femi. Do you think any process involving the president having to choose, I mean, can any kind of fairness come out of that process?
Well, thank you. I think this conversation is coming up now because President Buhari has simply done what some of our politicians have not been doing before, by coming out openly to request that he be allowed to choose not the successor as president, but as candidate of his party. We must always understand that the choice of the successor to the president, Muhammadu Buhari, will be made by Nigerians.
Absolutely.
Not by governors of APC or members of APC. So what he has only requested is for his party to allow him to choose a candidate for his party.
Exactly.
And why I said this is generating this kind of conversation is because this has been the practice, but unfortunately, none of them, including many of those who are aspiring to be president today, have had the audacity or the courage to do it the way President Buhari has done it by requesting openly that he be allowed to choose a candidate for his political party. In most cases, we have found politicians, governors, godfathers, even chairmen of local government, anointing candidates that will succeed them in position. And it has been the norm. The fact that President Buhari has boldly come out to make this request is what has initiated this kind of conversation that we're having. But we must always understand that the ultimate power to determine the next president of Nigeria is in the hand of the Nigerian people. But as it affects democracy, some of us are not comfortable with a situation whereby what should be the democratic right of members of political parties is given to one godfather, one governor, or one president, to take. The truth is that what is about to happen has been on for ages. Members of political parties have been reduced to mere figures and numbers whose only role is to attend meetings and rallies, but not having fundamental input in the choice of candidates for the political parties. And we have seen this aftermath of the various primaries conducted by the political parties. So that is why we should be concerned as Nigerians, as Democrats, that the power to choose candidates is gradually being taken away from members of the political party and now being handed over, to godfathers, governors, and presidents.
Prof, what is wrong if these aspirants go to the election, so to speak? What is wrong if they go and take part, if the primary is made an elective one instead of this idea of a consensus? What is wrong with that? Is anything going to happen if they all go and contest?
Well, virtually nothing is going to happen apart from the fact that if there's going to be an elections during the convention and there are a lot of candidates, there's going to be operational challenges, logistic challenges, and at the same time, it may tear the party apart. So first and foremost, to curtail these particular challenges or hidden booby traps within the political party, parties usually trim down the number of contestants or aspirants that will go into the primaries. And by so doing, they reduce not only the magnitude and the latitude of the operational challenges and logistics challenges and technical challenges, but by also reducing the danger involved in tearing the party apart. So if APC decides to go consensus is only accepted, not only by constitution, by convention, even by the Electoral Act. So if they decide to go consensus, you see, only very few people will find it very difficult to accommodate consensus. But on the larger part of the party interest and institutional interest of the party, or even the structural harmony of the party, consensus is welcome. So to me, as Sadiq Abba, I feel that the only and the best way to do it, to avoid crisis, is to allow the only few individuals to go into the primaries based on their strength, based on their national spread, based on their contribution to the party, and based on their level of commitment to the party. So the party should create a criteria that will help them to at least to trim down the number of these aspirants from, I think, 23 to maybe 5, 6, maximum 5. I think it's better.
Well, we understand some have been disqualified. We understand about 13 of them have been disqualified, or 10 or so. Yes. So, but we still don't know. They still have the right of appeal anyway.
Yes, we still need the number to go down for the sake of at least free, fair, smooth primaries, so that at least only those who matters most as people who are part and parcel of the party history and party structure and party organizations should be allowed to go to. It's not supposed to be an all-comers affair. You understand? For the matter that they are the party in government does not warrant everybody to just pick a form who have the money to buy to go and buy a form. So at least what the PDP primary committee should do is to see that let them come down within the laws of their party. They should do it within the context of APC constitutions, Nigerian constitutions, and electoral act guidelines, so that we'll be able to come up with very few numbers. And at the end of the day, the delegates will not have to go to run from pillar to post in order to elect or to choose a candidate or an aspirant who will become the party candidate in the next February elections.
Okay, Prof, just hold on a bit. Let me go to Femi. Femi, do you think that whoever the president comes up with now will be agreeable to the majority of the members, and that they would all come together and work for this individual?
Well, if you look at the president's approach, unlike the approaches often taken by the average Nigerian politician, particularly those who have been governors, those who are governors, I think there's likelihood of an amicable agreement by all parties involved at the end of the decision that may eventually be taken by the president. Because in the past, you hardly find these leaders consulting anybody. They just wake up from the comfort of their bedroom after taking coffee and announce so person as their preferred candidate, and they impose it on others. But now President Buhari has engaged, party leaders. He has engaged the governors of his party, in letting them know his desire. And I think between now and the convention, President Buhari would also be doing more of those kind of engagement. And I think doing that would allow, reasoning, and we also, of course, limit whatever crisis may be anticipated as a result of whatever might be the decision of the president. So the step being taken by president already indicates that there may not be as much as possible, as much as envisaged crisis aftermath of this decision, because it's already consulting. Unlike if he has woken up, maybe 24 hours to the convention, and declares a person as his candidate and try to impose it on the party. So I think it's taking the right step, and those who have benefited from this kind of steps in the past, I think I've also lost some moral grounds to challenge whatever the president might want to do in this regard, even though I want to insist that selecting a candidate for a political party negates the principles of democracy. It does not really encourage participation of members of political parties, and it's really demoralizing for people who ordinarily should have been delegates, who should have been leaders, who should have sat to scrutinize these aspirants and elect the best out of them.
Prof, let me come to you. Look, some people have said because of the emergence of the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar on the platform of the PDP from the northeast of the country, that the only way to balance force for force, if you like, is to give the APC presidential candidates to the APC presidential ticket now to a candidate from the north. What's your take on that?
I absolutely disagree with that. It is immoral. It is unhealthy democratically. It is it's a betrayal politically, and I believe that in fact, if APC should have in fact, the only option APC has today is to make sure that its candidates should come from the south, any part of the south, southwest, southeast, or south-south, because it balances the political equations in the next electoral cycle between the north and the south. And the religion doesn't matter, the tribe doesn't matter. What matters most is the regional divide between the north and the south. So I see nothing wrong if today APC comes up with a southerner who has done so much for the party, who has sacrificed a lot for the party, and who has at least is a founding father in building APC to what it is today. So to me, as a Nigerian, first and foremost as a Nigerian, and as somebody who subscribes to the wisdom created by people under the military rulership, that for Nigeria to have democratic stability and continuity we must have what we call rotational or zoning system. And we were able to imbibe this particular democratic culture in Nigeria, and it works. That is the only reason why today in Nigeria we have democracy and unbroken democracy. We were able to transit from one civilian to another civilian because of this particular culture that we were able to create in the last 20, 23 years. So abandoning this particular culture is tantamount to calling for democratic crisis and conflict. And it may, at the end of the day, entrench democratic instability in Nigeria again. We'll now draw back the hands of the clock backward again. So to me, my advice is that whatever happens in PDP is a PDP affair. APC is an absolutely different ball game. So they should come up with their own presidential candidate from the south, so that at least we give Nigerians this particular balanced democratic options and choices between the north and the south. And at the end of the day, when there are two of them, then we'll begin to ask our questions. Who is the best among them? Who has track records of achievements? Who has institutional memory of Nigeria and structural memory of Nigeria? And then we'll be able to now make our choices. But as far as Nigerians is concerned, and as far as followers are concerned, APC should now look southwards, irrespective of the region from the south.
Mr. Lawson, what's your take on that?
The ambition of every political party is to win elections. And that is why I think the APC may not hesitate to bring out its presidential aspirant from any part of the country, even if it is to be, for political parties, for politicians, if the most popular candidate that will ensure that APC wins the next election is from Katsina State, the home of the outgoing president, the party will not hesitate to bring such candidate, because for politicians, it's about elections. But for us, we are conscious of our nationhood. We are conscious of our, of the peculiarity of, the North-South divide and the political stability and some other needs. And that's why we have continued to make that demand that the power should rotate between North and South. And just like Prof have said, it is only justiciable that we allow the South to produce the next president of Nigeria, since President Buhari is coming from the Northern Divide, having spent, by the grace of God, 2 years by May 29, 2023. But for political parties, they don't, of course, think the way we think. They want to bring a candidate that can win an election irrespective of where he's coming from. And that is what may likely play itself out, especially when the APC, few days to the presidential primary, has not made any pronouncement on the zoning of his presidential ticket, just the way PDP did. And PDP, of course, have always pushed the argument that it was not a party in power and it never produced the president for 8 years, that the presidential candidate will come from anywhere. For us Nigerians who are sensitive to the prevailing reality, we have come to demand that, of course, presidency should be zoned to the south. But like I said earlier, it is within the discretion of the party to field candidates that will allow it to win the election, not minding how we feel as citizens. And that is what may likely determine the candidates that will emerge from the APC. But ultimately, the power to choose who eventually becomes the president of Nigeria
is the people.
Must reside in the hand of the people at all times.
Well, that's how much we can take on the program. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program and for joining me. Professor Sadiq Abba, who joined us from Yola, thank you very much for your time and thank you for your insights. And Olufemi Lawson, thank you also for your time and thank you for those wonderful insights. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. Well, that's how much we can take on the program this week. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.